Welcome back, fellow Pantheon fans, and thank you for joining us for part 2 of our video series entitled Putting the E Back in PVE. In our last video, we dug into the dangers of the world of Terminus as we discussed climates and acclimation in depth, a piece of the overall system that we believe will be a huge differentiator for Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. However, it doesn't just stop there, as now we're going to dig into the atmospheres and artifacts, which can help save you from an otherwise excruciating experience. To better understand the differences between climates and atmospheres, let's read a direct quote from Joppa Perkins. He says, "While climate deals with extremes of natural phenomena that players will encounter in Terminus, atmospheres will present players with unnatural, metaphysical phenomena, the kind of phenomena that might occur when fantastical worlds collide." But here's one even better, as we can hear Joppa explain the difference from a 2018 stream in which he discussed atmospheres, and even an atmosphere which we haven't heard much about since. And I thought that maybe people have not heard this before, so enjoy.
So to answer that question, simply yes. We with our atmosphere system, again, just a quick primer, we have extreme climates and atmospheres, and they're similar in that they both are environments in the game that have pretty dramatic effects on players, detrimental effects. But the extreme climates are kind of your natural phenomenon, things like frigid environment, scorching, toxic, things like that. Whereas atmospheres are more of your unnatural phenomenon, things that you would find in a fantasy world. And so darkness is one, what you would think of as almost supernatural darkness, or darkness that goes beyond the natural. Whether we would have entire environments, like whole zones or areas like that, I don't know, but certainly there will be pockets where you will enter an atmosphere of complete blackness, and it may be the torch and the range of the torch lighting is all you have. It could be that torches are even rendered ineffective in those environments, and so you're going to be focused more on sound cues or other things that maybe aren't quite ready to share yet. So yes, darkness, lighting, those things will play a major role.
So how will we overcome these unnatural metaphysical phenomena? Well, stick with us as we run through what we know, what you can expect, and how to protect yourself and your fellow adventurers from these incredible dangers. The environmental danger of Pantheon is promising its fan base to something very new in this genre. While we may have seen the threat of NPCs and world bosses, or even tears in the physical world in games like Rift, the system's Visionary Realms is bringing to the table feels like new in a fresh way for players to truly combat the world, not just its inhabitants. To understand where this desire of developing these natural and unnatural environments ties into Pantheon, check out this direct quote from Joppa. He says, "One of my favorite things about Pantheon is the story behind the formation of Terminus, specifically the mysterious collisions that have made Terminus what it is today. These dramatic events brought fragments of new worlds to Terminus, allowing a wildly diverse and imaginative landscape. But what has been particularly fun to consider are the metaphysical implications. When a fragment of an alien realm collides with Terminus, what energies and powers might it bring? And how do these mystical energies manifest in a new environment? What reactions will we see when the ancient energies of Terminus suddenly mingle with unknown power? These musings have given a rise to our atmosphere system." It's also worth noting that both the atmosphere and climate systems are a reimagining of the keying systems that are present in so many games. While it's fun to chase down keys at times and achieve attunement, the industry has been rather generic in the way in which they approach this topic. Because of this, the player base is all looking at keying as negative. That said, I believe that a system of attunement is necessary for player progression, and I highly commend Visionary Realms for coming up with a different sort of attunement, which is based on gear, rare item collection, and investment in their characters. Now, before we break down the atmospheres that we've seen so far hinted, I've actually condensed down a clip of the Hounir boss battle Nashera. Now, during this video, you're going to get some explanation around the boss fight itself and a generated atmosphere, and then you'll see it in action. Check this out, and we'll discuss immediately after.
After that, he will break combat. He'll go invincible because he has more things he wants to say. Once he talks to us a little bit more, he'll re-engage combat. We'll fight him again and take him down to about 50% health, where he will shout regret, and the room will fill with this kind of bluish smoke. That's actually Nashra creating an atmosphere. It's a spell reflection atmosphere. And so in that phase, it's not going to affect us too much because we don't really have any whole lot of nuking going on in this group. But that would be where the nukers would want to hold back. Would be primarily on the physical DPS to burn during that. And then once that ends, that effect, he'll break combat again.
DPS back on Nashura. Remember, at 50%, he's going to go into his next phase. That next phase is a spell reflect. So if we had caster DPS, which we don't right now, we would say, don't cast bad spells. They will hurt you.
Is that what you would say?
I would say that.
Here we go.
Oh, I like that voice. Whoa! There we go. So what's this blue fog doing right now to us?
This is spell reflect. He's basically turned the room into an atmosphere, a spell reflection atmosphere.
I don't see anyone near me, so I'm...
Spell reflect up.
Oh.
Yeah, quick reminder for chat for anyone tuning in. The speed of this game, although it's still being tweaked, is slow by design. So just keep that in mind. And many of us, including myself, very much prefer this slower paced combat. Like this is, yeah.
Well, you're really going to appreciate it too, and in situations like this, where you're, especially if you don't know the fight, trying to figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to kind of like focus on your rotation and focus on kind of each individual phase and figuring out what to do. By the way, awesome.
During the fight, the atmospheric effects were pretty obvious as the room filled with a blue mist. In case of this clip, Nashura activated a spell reflect atmosphere. But during a newsletter explanation revealing atmospheres in general, Joppa also gave the names of some others which we can expect to include, but they're not limited to just these. In the newsletter, he announced silencing mists, fog of confusion, gloom, frenetic floor, curse of intangibility, heavy air, and shifting walls. Also, while not in the newsletter highlighting this particular list, the earlier video we also got a hint that there could be an atmosphere highlighting some intense darkness. We can assume what some of the atmospheres may challenge us with when taking on powerful foes. However, we were given very specific details on one in particular, called Gloom. And here's what Gloom does. So Gloom is a negative effect on players which drains mana over time, reduces healing effectiveness, increases damage affected by undead enemies. Now, from the positive effects on the undead themselves, they'll have a bonus to all their stats, an increased aggro, and assist radius. Luckily, the team in the Nashura fight, which we saw earlier, were not caster heavy, so they were fine to continue the battle. However, what if you were a wizard and you found yourself unable to contribute? Well, there's a way around that with the addition of what we call artifacts, or rare items found around the world, which can help negate or at least lessen the effects of these dangerous, unnatural atmospheres. Here's a quote from Joppa that not many people may have seen, as this was posted as a response in Discord. To be honest, I'm not even sure where originally it came from, but luckily Joppa himself was fine with me sharing the information with the community. In this post, he said, and quote, "Some artifacts will completely nullify the effect on you, in the case of the Bone-Woven Veil, for example. This complete mitigation will often more be the case with lower level tier atmospheres, like Gloom, but artifacts are extremely diverse in nature because they're an unnatural phenomenon, and they will have a wide range of effects. Some atmospheres, for example like Gloom, will be directly negative in effect on the player, and positive effect for the associated NPCs. But then you have an atmosphere like Frenetic Floor. This is an atmosphere which affects the physical properties of the floor itself, making it intangible. So let's dig into some of these artifacts that can help save us from a variety of atmospheric detriments, or even help us traverse the world in general. Here's 5 of which we've gotten some detail on so far through various discussions. First is the Shield of Mirrors. It is forged by the master smiths of, I'm gonna butcher this, Kadasa. It can reflect light and has a chance to reflect magical attacks when blocking. The Skyhold Grappler, fashioned by the gnomes of Skyhold to assist in advanced terrain traversement. The Skyhold Grappler can latch onto special surfaces and pull you to a target location. The Ring of Anchors, infused with the bitterness of the Dark Mirror, this ring was designed to sink the wearer to the deepest reaches of the ocean. The Crest of Illumination. The Archai Crown was imbued with a powerful resonating light source that could shine through the blackest darkness. And the Boots of the Five Feathers. When worn, the effects of the frenetic floor become solid for the wearer. Now there's no doubt that these artifacts, and the many more that will inhabit Terminus, will be of much desire to those fighting back against the various forms of unnatural metaphysical phenomena that will stand in our way. In combination with the previously discussed Climate and Acclimation system, atmospheres and artifacts tie together to create a truly new and meaningful MMO experience amongst a sea of choices and options in the genre. It is the unique approach that these two systems bring that I believe will help Pantheon Rise of the Fallen stand out from others and build greatly on its promises of being a challenging group-based MMORPG. In this day and age, most gamers read PVE as players versus enemies, or metaphorically, players versus NPC mobs. But Pantheon is looking to expand upon environment and add a planet in despair, causing us players not only to overcome its inhabitants and stand in the way, but the planet itself. Also consider the gameplay loop of discovering these unique areas, climbing to the top of a mountain or the depths of caves that you know you're not quite ready to continue on. Much like Zelda or Metroid, two games in which Joppa himself has said have been heavily influential in the development of Pantheon, you'll venture back to these areas another day, eager to find out what's behind that danger blocking your way. That's why these systems are so important, because they add a high level of depth to exploration and discovery, both in the environments themselves and in the items needed to overcome. I hope you've enjoyed this two-part series detailing these two very important systems. However, we're not done there. Next week, Therek will be releasing another Perceptions of Pantheon video detailing the lore around some of the areas of Terminus and these dangers that we'll face in the climate and atmosphere style systems. And it doesn't stop right there, as we will discuss how these systems will play together to create a truly unique MMO experience on episode 42 of PantheonPlusYou on August 20th. And I'm excited to announce that my co-host on August 20th will be none other than old Militus, who's always ready to really dig deep in discussing mechanics and Pantheon strategies. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and as always, please let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, friends.
Pantheon.